Mark, why don't you kick off with this because this is very, very current and in the news, and it's going to run for quite some time, I think.
Yeah. So obviously we're recording it. I mean, we our episodes don't come out straight away, so we're currently recording this on Wednesday, the 20th of September. So it is pretty current at the moment. So just to put that into perspective, I want to be really careful in how we discuss this, because obviously we've all heard the news about Russell Brand at the moment, and I don't really want to talk about him particularly, but it is a good example of something that kind of worries me. But I kind of understand it. I'm conflicted with it, basically. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I heard today that Russell Brand, I mean, he's had to postpone. For those who don't know, there's allegations of sexual assault against Russell Brand. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I've not. I mean, you saw the dispatches, didn't you, Cam? I did. Seen it.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to talk about his case as much. I just want to use this as an example because we don't know the ins and outs of it, and I think it would be unfair for us to do so. I'm not a supporter of him particularly, and I'm not a detractor either. I don't really have anything to say about him really, but his tour has been cancelled or postponed because of these allegations. But also the BBC have taken content that includes him down. I'm not sure if it's all of it, but a good chunk of the content that includes Russell Brand has been taken off their sites and iPlayer and all that kind of stuff. But also YouTube have decided to demonetize his content, so he can no longer make money from his videos. Now, some people out there might be going, yes, because this is a heinous crime that he's been alleged to have done. And I agree, it is a heinous crime. And, the convictions of sexual assault in this country are appallingly low, which is obviously another story. I don't really want to talk about that too much, but it is appallingly low. But it does bother me that someone who hasn't been charged has only had an allegation. The police are only now investigating it. He has basically started to be cancelled. His work is, he's not allowed to make money on YouTube anymore. He can still post on YouTube, but he can't earn money from it. Apparently, if he is found innocent and all that, he can recoup that money. Apparently, I don't know how that works, but there we go. If he's found innocent, part of our we don't have a constitution here, but our law does state innocent till proven guilty, right? So it does worry me that we have this sort of powerful trial by media. We have we have a judicial system, we have a police force. That is who should be putting him on trial rather than media. Having said that, Harvey Weinstein was a topic of a similar documentary to the Dispatches one, and that's what brought him down. And that was a good thing because Harvey Weinstein was, quite frankly, a monster. I don't know if Russell Brand is or not, because he hasn't even been investigated properly yet. He's not been charged, but yet he is being cancelled on social media. He's been cancelled from YouTube, and the BBC have taken this down. I have sympathies though for people like the BBC because their reputation's on the line. If they do not, if they keep his content on their website, his videos and whatever it is, and he is found to be guilty, then they might be considered to have been supporting him when he shouldn't have been, and all that kind of stuff. So I am massively conflicted about it, but it does worry me a bit that and I want to be careful because I don't want to victim shame either, because that's not on, because everyone has the right to make an accusation. But if anyone can make an accusation against anyone and then suddenly they can't work, and that worries me a little. What do you think?
Well, I saw the documentary. I saw it a few days after it was. I saw it a few days after it was. I saw it a few days after it was actually aired. And first of all, I found it very uncomfortable viewing. Okay, and the reason for why I found it uncomfortable viewing, and I'm not actually talking about the actual content of the document. No, not the content. I'm not talking about Russell Brand as such. Okay, I'm talking about him. I'm just talking about the actual documentary, I found it very uncomfortable because it was a very, very one-sided documentary. Okay, so what it does is it goes to show that the use of imagery and words alongside that can be made, to work a certain way. It wasn't at all a balanced documentary in any way. And I'm not saying it should have been, or it shouldn't have been. I'm just saying that that's what it was. It was a one-sided documentary. And
I guess people need to understand that when they're watching it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And after the documentary, the Metropolitan Police announced that after the documentary, there were some additional allegations were made against him. And so I think that they were going to be looking into it. But the thing is with that whole media circus that's going on around it, there's that danger that these malicious allegations, they're going to be made on the strength of the media reaction to the investigation. And
it might not be malicious. There might be proper allegations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm sure you didn't mean anything by that, Cam, but just
no, right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And so, but also that there is also then there's this. So everyone's going to be thinking, well, this person, and let's not now keep naming it because we want to. Right, let's just say that this person is now facing trial by media and we think he's guilty because of the media narrative is this person has been doing this and it's obvious and clear that he's been doing this. Okay, that's what they seem to be sort of saying. But the problem is now that if somebody, then the flip side of that is if somebody else comes out and makes an allegation and makes more allegations, okay, and then people are then going to be doubting those allegations by saying, oh, well, they're just jumping on the bandwagon of the media. Yeah. And this person now is where this person just come out of the woodwork and she is saying, this is what I went through and this is what happened to me and everything. And people are going to be then doubting what
could be a credible accusation.
What could be a credible accusation. And that's worrying as well. So you have to look at all of these allegations and you have to, you can't blindly believe them. You can't dismiss them out of hand. You can't just say, oh, well, that person stepped forward now. Isn't that convenient that this happened 15 years ago? And why has she come forward now? Well, she's after money and whatever. But then the flip side of that is that she had her reasons for not coming forward or being able to come forward because of whatever the reasons are.
Well, the really low conviction rate in this country, I think, is a really good.
It could well be that,
people making a proper allegation.
Yeah, so we're all so it's very easy to make private judgments about, particularly about people in the public eye, and the media, the power of the media, you can't underestimate it. And this is a classic example of the power of the way something is filmed and something is put together a certain way. And it's content creators that are putting that. That's what we are as photographers and videos. We use this word as content creators. Now, this is quite serious because they've produced a program in a certain way with a certain narrative, and I'm sure that they're not going to do it without good reason, and they're going to be pretty sure of what they've got. But that's not to say that what they've got is going to be, proven to be wrong. So, and it's like the previous story that we talked about a guy who presented a blank canvas to a, complete blank canvas to a museum and was asked to pay all the money back. Whether it's a still image or whether it's a bit of video, the amount of messages that I constantly read these. I see this little thing that says, is photography finished? Is the power of photography, is it relevant or anything like that? It will always be relevant because still images and video will always, because we're looking at more and more images than we ever did before. We're looking at more and more video content than we ever did before. And we get, regardless of what you say, we get taken in by all of that. I know what I think about this story. I'm not going to say what I personally think about this story and my feelings towards what I've seen and whether I think that this person is guilty or not guilty.
Well, neither of us are qualified to make that decision, and I think
No.
that's the problem I have with this sort of trial by social media.
Mm.
Is none of us are qualified to make that decision. It doesn't look good. I mean, there's Russell Brand in particular. He has confessed of being a sex addict, I think, hasn't he? As well as other addictions that he's had. So it's very easy for a group of people to go, well, yeah, I can see this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know for sure. And none of us are qualified. And that's where I kind of start to worry. Because we all have access to a media platform, i.e. social media.
That's right.
Our opinions forward. And,
yeah,
we're not qualified to do that, really.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And there's been a lot of stories. I mean, there was a huge story, wasn't there, about Rebecca Vardy and Colin Rooney, and
what was that called?
And do you remember
Wagatha Christie?
Something like the Wagatha Christie. Yeah. And then there was that. Do you remember the whole Johnny Depp thing, and being accused of allegedly being accused of being a wife beater or something, and all of that.
Amber Heard.
That's right. Yeah. And the thing is so reported on the media that the media, do have a responsibility as photographers and videographers and journalists. It's very easy to get taken in by something and believe in 1,000% in what you do, but there's also consequences to all of that as well. In images. And we know that the power of and here's the power of the media and what it's actually doing to somebody, whether that's right, whether it's going to be proven to be right or wrong. It's a different thing. Look what happened to Cliff Richard. He was hounded by it all, and he really struggled from it. And in the end, he was given an official apology, and that affected him. And yet a lot of people, when it was all going on, just immediately believed it because of the narrative of the
media.
Of the media.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a bit of a conspiracy thing. It also comes from the Trump playbook, I guess. I mean, Russell Brand is saying things like, well, I've been saying things and the media don't like it, and this is a witch hunt. I don't know. I kind of take those kind of comments with a pinch of salt. But he could be right. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not qualified to know. I don't know either way.
I think this is something that's we know it's going to run for quite some time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're all going to be. It is going to be a story that everyone's going to be hooked on. Everyone's going to be talking about it. Everyone is talking about it. And let's see how it pans out. And it's going to be very interesting to see what other documentaries come out, because is there going to be one that's a little less biased? Is there going to be something that comes out where somebody says, no, this is, we're going to be looking at it, we're looking at it from both sides. Is there going to be a documentary that comes out, or a series of images that come out that are going to be very pro Russell Brand, that are going to be saying, look, here's proof that he wasn't guilty. He's not guilty of all of these things that we're saying.
Seem to remember when there was a big documentary about Michael Jackson before he died. I think was it before he died? No, it might have been after he died, actually.
It was after he died, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was after he died. There's a big documentary. I can't remember who did it. There was a big documentary about these, the alleged allegations with children. And then I think a couple of weeks after, the Jackson family released their own documentary, didn't they? Sort of debunking this. And he kind of left of, okay, you have to make your own decision on who you believe. Some people believe the original one. Some people believe the Jackson family. It's when you have such one-sided documentaries, it's difficult. It is difficult. Some people might say, well, there is only one side to it, and he is guilty. And I like I say, we're not qualified to know, but I guess it's a good way to lead on to sort of censorship in general. Because we have to learn now to self-censor, I think, in a lot of respects. Because I know a couple of years ago, I think we had Rick from Horrify Me on, and his stuff is quite adult themes, the pictures that he produces, and he has to deal with a lot of the censorship stuff where it's art. Again, going back to our first story today. And censorship, it was always by some sort of Ofcom, or some sort of conglomerate of people who would pass judgment on a movie that needs to be an 18 or a 15 or a PG or whatever it is. And I understand why that's there, but now with social media, we are our own, we have our own platforms. And quite frankly, none of these social media platforms are going to put any sort of effective censorship on their platforms, because they believe in freedom of speech. It's against their ethos, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering now, really, if it's up to us as the people to just be careful about what you post. Just be careful about the things that you say.
Yeah.
Because it will not necessarily come back to you, but it might come back on somebody else. And like I say, there could be innocent people who have been hounded for no reason. Like you said, Cliff Richard, I didn't read any of the tweets regarding that story, but I'm sure there are people out there who were convinced he was, definitely guilty of what he's been accused of and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When it turns out he wasn't. And I'm sure the same for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. But we just need to be careful. We absolutely do, because the trial by social media is a modern day witch hunt. Whether someone's guilty or not, we have due process, and we do have to go through that due process. And I just think we just need to be careful with it, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, be interesting to see how this runs, and we'll keep an eye on it. As I said, not from the story point of view, but just on how the media is reporting it and what type of videos and stills they put out. And it will be interesting to see, because I've got a feeling that some of the stills that there's going to be, as drip fed, there's going to be a lot of stills coming out, and they're going to be putting the person that we're sort of talking about, Russell Brand, in making him look in a compromising position, so we say, which you can when you watch the video. And now those pictures may be taken out of context, we don't know, but again, that is the power of the image. There's going to be a picture that's going to be people looking at a picture of Russell Brand thinking, oh my god, that's just typical of Russell Brand, but it may be a completely innocent picture, and it may be taken completely out of context. So let's see what happens here. And
I think, as well as my call to self-censor, I also would suggest to the people who listen to us, just don't take things on face value. I like I said, I'm not qualified to know if he's guilty or not, and I hope the police do a thorough investigation and that the right outcome comes about. I really do. But don't take things at face value. Investigate things. Be critical of the images that you see. It's very important. Something that I learned at uni. Look at an image, dissect an image, really look at what's going on in that picture. Or video, critique it, basically, because that's the only way we're going to actually have a proper discussion about not just this story, but any other story, because there's a lot of people out there who will have an agenda to try and again, not talking about this story here, but people will have agendas and will put out content to make you follow a certain agenda as fact, and it might not be. And you just need to be investigative about what you are looking at, and really think about what it is that you're looking at and the message that it becomes, and just learn to dissect that image.